are a quick way for you to not get to that 1,000 subscriber mark that you're probably wanting to achieve if you're just getting started with YouTube. That's the first milestone that's really important to new YouTubers because it really shows, a huge accomplishment of all the time and effort and videos that you created and time that you've invested and hopefully people that you've helped along the way. So I wanted to talk about today on day 5 of my 5-day live streams where I was going live to talk about how 98% of new YouTubers fail to get to the 1,000 subscriber mark and the reasons why. So today, the reason I'm going to talk about is ignoring your key metrics. So there are 3 metrics that as a new YouTuber, you really need to pay attention to because they're going to help you identify if your videos are hitting or landing where they're supposed to, right? So people are viewing them, if people are actually clicking through to watch them, and then how long they're watching them, if you're delivering the value that they were expecting based on the thumbnail and title that you created. That's what I talked about yesterday is the thumbnail and titles. So this is just kind of bringing everything home and wanted to kind of wrap it all up with the analytics. So, and you can find all of your analytics in the YouTube Studio app on your phone, which you can find in your store, whether you're on Android or Apple. If you're on the desktop, then when you're in your channel, there's an option on the left-hand side that says analytics. You can click on that, and then there's a plethora of different metrics that you can look at. And I will tell you, if you go in there as a first timer, even if you've been in there a couple times, it can very quickly become overwhelming because there are a lot of data points and they're all important, but not when you're just beginning. Like when you're first starting, you just want to know, are my videos getting out to the hands of people or eyeballs of people who need to watch it? What are they doing when they see it? And then what type of value are they receiving from the videos? So that's what these metrics that I'm going to talk about today are. So these are metrics that you do not want to ignore. You want to make sure that you are following up, looking at your YouTube Studio app. I go into my YouTube Studio app every morning. It's one of the first things I do. Well, after I go through my morning routine, but when I start working, it's one of the first things that I do. I want to check any comments that were there, make sure that my video is performing, that sort of thing. So the first metric that you're going to want to pay attention to is the views. Yes, this is a vanity metric. Hi there, thanks for joining live. Hi, Ravi, I think I'm saying your name correctly. So looking at the views, yes, it is a vanity metric, but you need to make sure that you're actually getting views on your videos because that's going to be an indicator that your video is being pushed out to people, right? If it's constantly zero, then you're like, what's going on with my video? Why isn't it getting pushed out by the algorithm, to the people who need to see it, or at least testing it with different groups? So, hey, Greg, thanks for joining from Australia. Hey, Emma, thanks for being here. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Robbie. Thank you for letting me know it pronounced correctly. So the views is really important to understand because it's going to help you know that your video is actually out there, right? So that's point number 1. The second thing that you're going to want to take a look at is the click-through rate. So yesterday I talked about in my live stream about how important your thumbnails and your titles are. That's where the click-through comes into play, right? So you've got your thumbnail, people look at your thumbnail, that's what's going to attract them first, most often. We're visual beings. And then they'll look at your title. If they're clicking through to watch your video, that means that your thumbnail and your title are working well together, right? So you created enough intrigue or interest with the thumbnail, helping them identify maybe you're closing a gap from where they are to where they want to be, and then the title was interesting enough that gave them enough information to say, if I click on this video, I might get what I'm actually looking for. So that's the second metric that you'll want to take a look at as well, is that that tells you, so you've got your views and then the click-through rate is saying, okay, of the people who viewed it, now they're clicking through, good, that means that this is working. The click-through rate that you're going to want to look for is like between 3 and 4%. Obviously, higher is better. Anything lower, it's okay as a beginner. In fact, as you're just beginning, it might be 1%, which is fine. But it's something to note is that okay, if only 1% of let's say you've got 100 views and only 1% of those are clicking through, then that might be the one thing that you want to concentrate on with your next video is, was it the thumbnail, was it the title, and work on, making those better. And then once you've got the click-through rate, You want to look at the third metric that's really important, which is the watch time. So this is like the most important metric on all of YouTube. All YouTubers are going to look at this. And the reason why it's so important is that YouTube wants people to stay on your videos, your channel, and the platform longer. And the only way to measure that is by looking at watch time. And that for you as a creator is going to help you know that you're delivering value. Essentially, you're following through on the promise that you said you were going to give them with the thumbnail and the title. So, they start watching that first, 15 to 30 seconds, which is the hook, right? So the reason why the hook's so important is because one, you're, following through on the promise that you told them that you were going to on the thumbnail and title, but then also enough interest and intrigue in that first 15 to 30 seconds that gets them to stay and want to watch your video longer. So looking at that metric in YouTube Studio or on your, in the analytics portion of your channel analytics, your studio on your desktop, that's going to help you understand, how much of your video is actually being viewed. If you look at the percentage, anything over 40% is going to be really good. So that's what you're looking for, is like your minimum of 40% of the entire video that's being watched. 100%, like even the best YouTubers don't get that, which is fine. If you get like over 70%, that's like really good. Okay, so that's like, probably as good as you're going to get. But if it's under 40% as you're getting started, that's okay. You just want to make sure that you're looking at it and saying, okay, there's a graph that you can look at to see at what point did people drop off. Now you will see too that the most common drop off is within the first 30 seconds. So if you see that, just know that that's normal. Then look at what happens after that. Did they drop off like right away? Do they continue to watch at that point all the way to the end? Are there spikes and dips, which is normal? But then looking at those to see like what happened, what were you talking about, that sort of thing. So that's where the watch time is really important. You can learn from those metrics to see at what point and what you were talking about in that video was resonating with people at what point along the video. And from there you can say, okay, well, if I noticed that people, there's a huge spike in your video, that means that people went back and watched that again. Then you're going to be like, what was I talking about at that point? Maybe I need to make a completely separate video and talk about that. If there was a huge dip, then you might say, oh, okay, people weren't resonating with that. And if they went back to watch something, they might have skipped over it. Then that's something for you to know too, that maybe you don't want to talk about that anymore, right? So those are the three metrics that I wanted to share. If you have questions about the metrics, I'm not seeing any questions in here. So if you have questions about your metrics, let me know in the comments, or if you're watching the replay, just leave them in the comments as well. As soon as I see questions and they pop through, then I will answer them. So I'm pretty quick, unless it's like, of course, when I'm sleeping, then I'll just answer them when I get on my app. So thank you so much for being here. If you were here with me live, I appreciate you. If you're watching the replay, just put #replay in the comments so that I knew that you were here. And if there was anything in particular that really resonated with you, let me know that as well. Now, again, there are a ton of different metrics in the Studio app. So if there's one in particular where you're like, I need to know what this one is, let me know in the comments and I will let you know what it means. And then, of course, the most important part of that is like, why is it important, right? What's in it for me as a creator so that I can make sure it's better for me, my videos, the platform, and of course, the people who are watching your videos. So thank you so much if you are for being here, and I appreciate it. This is the last live that I'm doing of the 5-day series, so I'm not sure when I'll go live again. But if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Click the bell notification if you want to receive notifications in your window when I go live or upload new videos. Okay? Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and as always, make today great.